Welcome back to 5-Point Historian. Today we are traveling back to the Middle Ages. It was a time of knights and castles, but it was also a time of terrifying medicine. Imagine you are sick in the year 1300. There are no modern hospitals or pills. Instead, your doctor brings a sharp drill, a bag of leeches, or a red-hot iron. In this video, we explore the 5 scariest medical treatments of the Middle Ages. We will see how people suffered and the strange, real stories of how they tried to survive. You will be very happy you live in the modern world. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Let's go back to the Dark Ages. 1. Trepanning. The door in the skull. Our first scary treatment is called trepanning. This is one of the oldest surgeries in history. In the Middle Ages, people were very religious. They believed the body was a place where spirits lived. If you had a terrible headache or acted strangely, they didn't think about your brain. They thought a demon was trapped inside your head. To cure you, the doctor had to give that demon a way to escape. A real historical practice, the mouthcloth. In medieval France, this surgery was very common but extremely painful. Because there was no medicine to stop the pain, the patient would scream and move. This was a problem for the doctor. To solve this, assistants would stuff a thick, dirty cloth into the patient's mouth. They would tie it behind the head so the patient could not spit it out. They believed that if the patient screamed too loudly, the good spirits would be scared away, and only the demon would stay. Imagine being that patient. You are tied to a chair. A cloth is forced into your mouth so you cannot make a sound. You are completely awake. The doctor picks up a metal drill or a sharp stone. He begins to push it into your forehead. You feel the pressure and then the sharp pain as the tool breaks the bone. The doctor keeps turning until a small piece of your skull is removed. Now there is a hole in your head. The doctor says a prayer, waiting for the demon to fly out of the hole. The aftermath. What is amazing is that many people survived this. Archaeologists found a skull in England with 3 different holes from trepanning. This means the person had this scary surgery 3 times. They lived with holes in their heads, covered only by a thin piece of skin or leather. Every time it rained or the wind blew, they felt it directly on their brain. It was a terrifying way to live, but they preferred it to having a demon inside. 2. Bloodletting, the barber's surgery. Next, we looked at bloodletting. This was the most common treatment for almost 1,000 years. If you had a fever or were tired, the doctor said you had too much blood. In the Middle Ages, you didn't go to a clinic. You went to the barber. Barbers did more than cut hair. They were the surgeons of the poor. This is why the barber pole has red and white stripes, white for bandages and red for blood. The theory of balance. Doctors believed the body had 4 liquids called humors. If these were not in balance, you got sick. They believed blood was hot, so a fever meant you had too much hot blood. To fix this, the barber had to take your blood out. A real practice, the Italian deep cut. In medieval Italy, barbers had a very aggressive way of doing this. If a fever was very high, they didn't just cut one vein. The barber would make deep cuts in several places at once, usually the arms, the feet, and even under the tongue. To keep the blood flowing, they would place the patient's arm in a bowl of very hot water. The heat kept the veins open, so the blood would not stop. Sometimes they took so much blood that the patient passed out from weakness. Leeches in daily life. If you were too weak for a knife, they used leeches. Imagine a mother in a small hut. Her child is sick, so she puts 10 cold black worms on the child's chest. The leeches would drink the blood until they were fat and purple. For people in the Middle Ages, this was normal. They believed these holy worms were sucking the poison out of the body. Even kings like Charles II died because doctors took too much of their blood trying to cure them. 3. The plague doctor and the chicken cure. Black Death was the most terrifying time in the Middle Ages. Millions of people were dying. This was when the plague doctor appeared. With his long, bird-like mask, he looked like a nightmare. Inside the beak, there were dried flowers to stop the smell. People thought the bad air caused the plague, but they were wrong. The desperate cures. Because doctors were desperate, they tried insane things. One of the most famous and true stories is about the Vicary method. This was a treatment named after a famous doctor. The doctor would take a living chicken and pluck all the feathers from its bottom. Then he would tie the live chicken to the patient's swollen plague bumps, buboes. They believed the chicken would pull the poison from the human into its own body. When the chicken died, they would bring another live one and repeat the process. Imagine the horror. You are dying in a dark room, and a man in a bird mask ties a screaming, living chicken to your body. It sounds like a horror movie, but it was real life in the 1300s. The poop paste. If chickens didn't work, doctors used another remedy. They would create a paste made of human waste, old butter, and herbs. They would cut the plague bumps open and rub this waste directly into the wound. Today we know this causes terrible infection, but they thought the strong smell would fight the plague. This shows how little they knew and how much they suffered. It is hard to believe people actually did these things. If you are learning a lot, please like this video now. It helps our channel. And if you love history, subscribe to 5-Point Historian. Let's continue to the most painful part. 4. Surgery and the hot iron. In the Middle Ages, wars were constant. This meant many soldiers had terrible wounds. If a wound turned black, it was gangrene. The only way to save a life was to cut off the arm or leg. This was called amputation, and it was done without any medicine to make the patient sleep. The hammer and the cloth. In medieval army camps, surgeons had to work fast. To stop the patient from screaming, which scared the other soldiers, they had a scary method. Assistants would wrap a heavy cloth around the patient's head and mouth. Then a surgeon's assistant would hit the patient on the head with a heavy wooden hammer. They hoped to knock the patient unconscious, but it usually just made them dizzy and confused while the doctor started sawing the bone. The red-hot iron. The surgery was like a race. A doctor had to cut off a leg in less than a minute. They used a heavy, dirty saw. Once the leg was off, the blood was everywhere. To stop the bleeding, the doctor used cauterization. He had a piece of iron sitting in a fire until it was red hot. He would press the glowing metal directly onto the open stump of the leg. The skin would burn and smoke would rise. The smell was terrible. This burned the flesh to close the blood vessels. It stopped the bleeding, but many patients died from the shock of the intense heat. This was the reality for any soldier who was injured on the battlefield. 5. The burning skin, St. Anthony's fire. Our final story is about a strange sickness called St. Anthony's fire. People felt like their skin was inside an oven. Eventually, their fingers and toes would turn black and fall off. Today, we know this was caused by a fungus in rye bread, but back then, they thought it was a curse. The monastery ritual. Poor people who suffered from this fire would travel for miles to the Order of St. Anthony in France. The monks there had a very specific and scary ritual to cure the patients: the dark room and the hanging limbs. The monks would feed the patients pork and holy wine, but there was a darker part of the treatment. In some monasteries, they would take the black, rotting limbs that had already fallen off other patients and hang them from the ceiling. They believed that if a new patient stared at these dead parts, their body would remember to stay healthy. Imagine being a farmer. Your hand is rotting and you are in a dark room staring at dead fingers hanging from the ceiling. You are terrified and confused. The crazy thing is that the patients often got better. Why? Because the monks gave them clean bread made from wheat. By stopping the rye bread, they stopped the poison. The patients thought it was a miracle from the saint, but it was actually just a change in diet. Still, the experience in that dark room was a psychological nightmare. The Middle Ages was a time of extreme horror and extreme bravery. People did not have the science we have today, but they had a very strong will to live. They accepted holes in their heads, lived chickens on their skin, and red-hot irons on their wounds because they wanted to survive. Looking back at these 5 scariest treatments, we can see how much humanity has learned. Today, a trip to the doctor is easy and safe. 700 years ago, it was a battle for your life. Thank you for exploring this dark part of history with me. Which of these medieval cures was the most shocking to you? Was it the chicken or the hammer? Tell me in the comments. I love reading your thoughts. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to 5 Point Historian. We have many more amazing stories to tell. See you in the next video.